So you have a list, I'm assuming, on CBSSports.com. I mean, like I said, I've been out to running errands and stuff. I haven't actually read the site, but I'm assuming you do have a best remaining free agent list.
I think we do. I don't know if I've done. I don't know if I did it. I probably did it. I just don't remember. It's kind of all a blur. You know this better than anybody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm like, what's today? What did we talk about on Monday? Number one on the list, Stephon Gilmore. What do we think best landing spots for him? I believe the Rams have been in contact. What was the consensus best landing spot?
That was the most recent report that there's been some contact between the Rams and Stephon Gilmore. And I think the further along you go into the offseason, when you're the type of free agent like Stephon Gilmore, extremely talented, little bit, experience in the league, I think the Rams are always going to be in that discussion, right? Like, again, it's if his market's going a little bit stale, all right, take a little bit less, go to Los Angeles, try to load up and see what can happen. I think that again, pair yourself next to Jalen Ramsey. That's an unreal secondary that you have there in LA. So the Rams are always going to be one of those discussions. I think we'll probably mention them a bunch here, but I think the 49ers are interesting. I think that's one that you can look at. Let's see what happens after the draft. I do wonder with these free agents if some of them wait until after the draft now when we're getting so close. If teams are unable to fill those needs, maybe they go back into the free agent pool. I'd be curious to see how that goes. But specifically for the 49ers, I want to see how this draft goes with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, how does that go? Again, we've said it a bunch. Could be on the move, might not be. The quarterback situation in the NFL has kind of settled a little bit. But who knows? Something could sprout up. And again, if the Carolina Panthers don't go quarterback, maybe they try to target Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, that's just one there. But if the 49ers get rid of him, they clear up a ton of cap space. And that could open the door for a guy like Gilmore to be signed.
It's also worth noting that I believe the date is like May 10th. I could be wrong. Where the compensatory pick formula no longer counts, or like if you sign a free agent, it doesn't count against next year's compensatory picks. And so that's why you sort of see some of these, veteran players who are, maybe being told by teams like, look, we want to sign you. Be patient. We got to get and the agents are probably willing to work with them because they're like, look, you're going to, you're not getting paid now anyway. You're going to, you're going to get you paid, maybe even get to skip some OTAs or something like that. But that may be the case with several of these guys. Certainly would make sense with Gilmore, who, I don't know that you necessarily want him as your number one corner, going into next year. I mean, don't we think he slipped a little much? Like ideally he'd be your number two corner, right? Maybe even a team. What about would the Bills work? Is a team that drafted him? Go like I'm coming home type situation.
You do have Tre'Davious White coming off the ACL. Could make some sense there to give yourself some insurance in the secondary. The storyline's great, obviously. And I would assume Gilmore, who's made a lot of money in his career, I know he made a huge deal with the Patriots when he was a free agent. I think back in, 2017, I think?
Yeah.
Maybe he's looking to go again, want to win a Super Bowl. Like that's, again, a clear motivation for a lot of these guys. I know we'll talk about Tyrann Mathieu too. He said.
I'm sorry,
Tyrann Mathieu.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a motivation for a lot of these guys. So maybe again, you look at the Bills betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. You could join that secondary. Again, they're starting to load up. It's like the AFC version of the Rams if you want to just go over there. If you want to stick it to the Patriots 2 times a year, I mean, there was some bad blood ending that relationship. So, again, there's a lot of storylines that you can go there with Gilmore.
All right, let's move on to
Tyrann Mathieu.
Targeted rumored spots or the favorites to land: Eagles, Saints, Lions, Colts, Jets, and Steelers. So he's getting a lot of action out there. I mean, I wonder what the hesitation is here for
Tyrann Mathieu
to sign with the team. Maybe he wants to go to the Steelers and they're like, look, we will sign you, but you're going to have to wait for that comp pick formula because, the contract's like he's going to get a pretty decent contract, I would think, even this late in free agency.
I would think so. And again, his market was starting to heat up. He was in Louisiana, in New Orleans, visiting family and friends, I think. And then he popped into the New Orleans Saints for a workout or at least a visit. Right. So there was some interest there. The Philadelphia Eagles have reportedly been interested. He did a virtual visit with them. And apparently there's interest on both sides. I think you're right on that. I think the compensatory kind of factor is coming into play here with a guy like Mathieu too, just because, again, you're not going to give up a ton of capital, especially if you're going to pay a guy like that. I think the Steelers make some sense. Obviously, I think that they just, he reminds me of somebody that would just be that absolute playmaker in that defense. It just feels like a type of player that would fit well with Mike Tomlin. I thought that the Ravens were going to be a decent fit for them. Obviously, they filled that position, so they don't really need him there as well. I think one team that's pretty interesting would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, again, there was, I think in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, him and Tom Brady were kind of jawing back and forth. I don't see that being a huge issue there. I think that'd be actually awesome to see him join that type of team. I think they lost, wasn't Antoine Winfield. Who did they lose at the safety to the New York Jets? I forget who it was, but they lost the safety in free agency. And so again, they could fill that need there. You're coming back with Jordan Whitehead. So again, you're coming back with a need at the position. Tom Brady's back. You're going for this new run in 2022. I could see that being kind of one of those sneaky teams in the NFC where a veteran free agents kind of flock to if they don't want to go to LA.
The Rams have reportedly been in contact with Mathieu to I feel like petrified to say his name. Yeah, I mean, I would think that he's like, I would guess that the offer from the Jets or the Lions is probably better than what, like he's probably close to what he wants, but he doesn't want to sign at this stage of his career with a team that's not going to give him a chance to at least make a playoff run. So he's probably waiting to see if the Steelers, Rams, Colts, Saints, or Eagles are willing to up their offer maybe a little bit, after the draft if they're not able to bring in enough, talent in the secondary positions.
Yeah, he told the Kansas City Star earlier this offseason, he did an exclusive interview with them after it was pretty apparent that he wasn't going back to the Chiefs. It was the interview that he said he was heartbroken and all of that stuff. He even noted that he's made a ton of money in his career and he's willing to, go away from breaking the bank and try to win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good call.